Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a Cricut Joy insert card and also how to write on the inside of your card using a Cricut Joy pen. So I'll list all of the materials and tools that I use in this project below, but we've got our Cricut Joy, we've got our insert cards, some tools, our card mat, and a Cricut Joy fine point pen. And as always, you can shop for all of these things on our website, www.craft-e-corner.com. You can find the links below for everything. So let's get started.
We're going to get started in Design Space. There's two parts to this project. We're going to create the front of the card and then obviously the inside as well. So for the front of the card, I chose this insert card called Cupid Heart Convo Card. And we don't have to do anything to that, which is super nice. I just searched through the images in Design Space and found this one that I liked. And this is the tag. So if you search for that, it will come up right away. So that's all we need to do for the front. Super easy. Now I want to show you how you can create text for the inside of your card. Before we get started, I'm going to leave a link up above in the right hand corner. We've created a whole video on how to draw and write with your Cricut Maker, Explorer Air, or Joy. It goes through all the basics of writing and drawing in Design Space. So definitely go watch that if you haven't done this before, but I will try to explain everything today, but that video goes more in depth on writing and drawing if you're interested. So this is what our final project is going to look like here. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and hide both of these things and show you how I did them. So the first thing we're going to do is create a template. And the reason we're doing this is because we want to size our text according to the size of the card. So what we're going to do is click on Shapes over here and then click on Square. And now from here, we're going to unlock the box. So you can either unlock by clicking here or you can unlock up here. And then as you can see, now it's unlocked. So the dimensions for the card are 4.25 by 5.5. And I actually pulled this dimension right from the Cricut Joy Insert Cards box. These are the dimensions of our card. So we know when we add our text to size it according to this. I'm just going to go ahead and make this purple so it's a little easier to see. Now we're going to add some text. To do this, just click on text and then you can start writing. So I'm going to say, thinking of you, and we know we need to make this a lot smaller, so I'm just going to go ahead and drag it down. We can't wait until, and I'm hitting enter every time here just to kind of space this how I want it to be. We can all be together again. Perfect, so there's our text. The first thing I'm going to do is come up to alignment up here and hit center. Obviously you can create this however you want. If you want it to be left justified or right, you can add whatever you want. And then from here I did want to highlight, I am using a writing font called Leah's Wedding Font. So if you come up here into fonts, click on Cricut and then click filter, you'll want to use a writing font for this project. And again, in that video that I talked about earlier, we go a lot more in depth, but these fonts were created specifically to write or draw with your Cricut. So if you click on them, they're going to be single line fonts. You can use other fonts, but just know that it's going to look a little different and it's actually going to draw the outline of your font. And let me show you what I mean by that. So I just took off this writing feature and now I'm going to show you a non-writing font. Okay, so let's say we wanted to use this font. Currently it's set to cut, which is super important. So when you come up to line type and switch it to draw, it's going to draw the outline of your words. So again, you can use this font, but just know if it's a non-writing font, it's going to draw the outline of your letters instead of the single lines like this font that we chose here. This is a writing font. So just know the difference going in. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and switch it back to the writing font. Again, click on fonts, writing, and then I'm just going to search for Leah's. Click on it. And it's perfect. The next thing that we're going to do is size this according to our card. And I'm going to drag my text on top of my card. If you find that your text is going behind the card, all you have to do is come up here to arrange with your text selected and click send to front. So now that we know the dimensions of the card, you can just click and drag and size this however large or small you want. I think I'm just gonna make it a fuzz smaller. And then now we know exactly what our font is going to look like size-wise on our card. Normally from here we would go ahead and align this and center it on our card, but we're not actually going to do that and I'm going to show you why in a moment. So now we can go ahead and hide the square or delete it, whatever you want. We don't need it. and we can put the front of the card back on our canvas. Now we've got the front of the card and we've got the inside of the card as well. Now we're going to make sure we have our Joy machine selected, and to be honest, I should have told you this at the beginning because you'll need to make sure it's selected so that you have all the right tools and design space, so definitely do that first. But we'll make sure our Joy is selected and then we're going to click on Make It. And then from here it's going to ask us what kind of mat we're going to use. So we're going to obviously use the card mat, so we'll click Done. Now we're on the mat preview screen. It automatically defaults to show you this mat that's 4.5 by 6.25. But the insert cards that we are using, we know are 4.25 by 5.5. So if you click on material size, just choose the right card mat. If you don't, it's fine, but what's important to know is we're gonna be clicking and dragging our text, and this is how we're going to center it on our card or put it wherever you want. So it's just important to make sure you have the right mat selected so that you can center this or place it wherever you want perfectly. So check this out. This is currently the largest mat, but if we click on 5.5, do you see how now our mat is just this smaller area? So it's not going to, it doesn't come to this larger area. So hopefully that makes sense. And now from here, we don't have a way to perfectly align the text wherever we want it to go. You just have to click and drag. We're going to be checking and doing our best, I guess I should say, to make sure it's even from here and here, from here and here. So those two should be the same distances, along with from left to right, it should be the same. And obviously we're not going to make this perfect, so don't stress too much about it, but we'll just do our best. So I think there looks about good. So now we know this is where the Cricut is going to draw the letters. And then we've got our other mat that is going to cut the card. And you can change the mat size if you want, but if you forget, it's not a huge deal. It will still cut it correctly. But now we've got both of these ready, so we'll hit continue and connect to our Joy. So from here, we can choose our material that we'll be working with, and we're using the insert card cardstock. And you can go ahead and check this box because it's going to be the same material for both layers. So when you click that and hit the box, it's going to remember it for all of your mats. So I did want to highlight quick, I would suggest drawing on the inside of your card first. So do you see how it's selected here? You can actually change what you want your Cricut to cut or draw first. So just make sure you have that one selected. The only reason for that is because if you have a super complex front of your card, and ours is actually pretty simple, it sometimes can be challenging sliding this part of the card, the front, underneath the mat, and I'll show you what I mean again in a second. So we'll start by writing, so just make sure that one is selected.
All right, so we've got our Joy on, and now I've got my card mat, my insert card, and the actual card. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this liner on the card mat because we don't need it. But just make sure you hold on to it because we'll replace it with it. So now we're going to take the card. When you obviously get it out of the box, it's going to be in its regular state, if that makes sense. So what we want to do is inside it out so that it draws on the inside of the card first. So we'll just bend it back, and then to get it on the card mat, you just kind of lift this up a little bit and tuck it right in. Then just make sure it's aligned at the top here, and then we will slowly push down and make sure that it's all even. So now we'll get this loaded into our Joy. And before we get going, we want to make sure we've got our pen in first. I have the fine point pen 0.4 in black. This is the one that comes with your machine. So we'll just undo the clamp here, and you just literally drop in the pen, close it, and now we'll hit go in Design Space, and it will start to draw. So it's all finished. As you can tell, it turned out really well. So we're gonna go ahead and click unload in Design Space. And now I'm gonna go ahead and just swap my pen for the fine point blade. So again, you just literally drop it right in and close the clamp. Super simple. And then from here, I just wanna give you a little close up as to how this turned out. I think it turned out really, really well. And we're going to remove this from our card mat. To do this, I'm gonna use this spatula tool. I like to use this just to help me start in a corner and carefully work my way up. Since the mat is sticky, we want to go nice and slow and just be gentle with it so we don't bend our card at all. And then usually once I'm like about halfway, I like to actually flip it over and let the mat bend while I hold the card straight. Perfect. So there's the text on the inside of our card, and now we're going to fold this over and place it back onto our card mat. So this is what I was talking about earlier. If you cut the front of your card first, obviously you're going to have to tuck the cut portion underneath your card mat. And if you have a lot of cuts, it can just get a little messy and a little trickier to put it underneath your card mat. So I think it's easier to start by writing the inside of your card first, but you don't have to do it this way. You can definitely do it the other way and start with the front of your card and then finish by adding your text. So we'll go ahead and get this into our card mat. We'll push this down and we'll get this loaded in. And remember, the Joy has sensors that automatically grabs it and pulls it in. And then we'll hit go on our computer in Design Space and we'll let that get cutting. So it's all finished cutting, and we are going to hit unload again in Design Space. And now we're going to remove the card again from the card mat using the spatula tool. And just be extra careful again here because obviously we have cuts. We want to make sure that we don't rip or bend anything. So I'm just going right along the edge, just carefully prying it up. The spatula tool is really nice for this. All right, and now I'm gonna flip it over and do this really gently. Just bend my mat back. This mat is a lot stiffer than the other mats if you've done this trick before. So you might have a little bit of a harder time, but just go nice and slow. And then we'll pull our card out. And then before we get to this card, always clean your mat right away. And I'm using a scraper tool, and you're just gonna push the excess off of the mat. You could also use your spatula tool for this as well, but I really like to use the scraper to clean my mats. All right, and now we're going to take that clear liner and put it back on top of the card mat. And now comes the fun part. We are going to put our insert card into our card. To do this, all you're going to do is tuck the insert card into these 4 corners. So it's super simple. Just do one at a time. And we'll just make sure everything is evened out. I like to just kind of push down to make sure it's even in all the corners. And then you can fold your card back down, and now we're all finished. So that is what the front of our card looks like. And then of course, here is the inside of our card, which is one of my favorite parts. It's so fun making cards on the Cricut Joy, and this is just another layer that we can add to our creating. So I hope that you guys found this video helpful. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments below, and someone from our team would love to help you out. We also have a Cricut community Facebook group. You should definitely go join if you haven't yet. Just full of Cricut crafters. It's just a fun little community that we have at Craft-e-Corner. All right, well, thank you so much for watching, and let us know if you have any questions.